Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of White Tunes Chatbots. As we all know, COVID-19 has sent the entire world into isolation and panic. COVID-19 is a virus that is spread through air and can be fatal. In this episode, we have Dr. Azam Mubarak, Critical Care Consultant, Starkey Hospital, Calicut. He is also the co-founder and director of Harrison Miller Healthcare and Home Rounds. Welcome sir, it's a pleasure to meet you. As a doctor specialized in critical care, what is it that you do and what made you choose critical care?
Critical care medicine or intensive care medicine is a specialty which primarily deals with any critically ill or patients with any acute illness. It's basically an extension of all medical and surgical branches. Say for a cardiologist, it's a patient with acute heart failure. For a nephrologist, it's a patient with acute renal failure who may need dialysis. Patient with acute hemorrhage for a gynecologist. So basically what we do is any patient admitted in ICU who needs a multidisciplinary approach for supporting any of their organs, those patients come under us, critical care medicine. I think critical care medicine is a more recognized branch among public nowadays because of this COVID pandemic. Most of the patients who are in category C of COVID, they need organ support. Basically, they need ventilator support for supporting their respiratory system. Okay. So these kind of patients comes under critical care medicine. Why I choose? I'm basically I'm completed my MD in anesthesiology. After that, I've finished a fellowship in critical care medicine. So in ICU, what I've seen is during my training period and now during my practice period, we've been dealing in a bedside point of care for each and every patient. Like നമുക്കൊരു പേഷ്യൻ്റ് സിക്കായിട്ട് വരുമ്പോൾ ആ പേഷ്യൻറ്റിനെ എത്രത്തോളം നമുക്ക് സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും എന്ന് നോക്കി ഓരോ സ്റ്റേജിലും ആ പേഷ്യൻറ്റിൻ്റെ ഇമ്പ്രൂവ്മെൻറ്റ് നമ്മൾ ഫോളോ അപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് ബേസിക്കലി വി ഇൻ്റർവ്യൂ ഈച്ച് ആൻഡ് എവറി സ്റ്റെപ്പ് ഓഫ് പേഷ്യൻസ് ട്രീറ്റ്മെൻറ്റ് ആൻഡ് ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് തിങ്സ് വി ഇംപ്ലിമെൻറ്റ് point of care in bedside. So initially during early times what you've seen is most of the patients who were admitted in ICU was initially considered like നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ ആൾക്കാരുടെ അടുത്ത് ചോദിക്കുമ്പോൾ വെന്റിലേറ്ററിലാക്കി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ അതൊരു എൻഡ് ഓഫ് ദി ലൈഫ് ട്രീറ്റ്മെൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടാണ് ഇതിന് മുന്നേ കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നത്. ബട്ട് നൗ ദാറ്റ് കൺസെപ്റ്റ് ഹാസ് ചേഞ്ച്. ലൈക്ക് ഇപ്പോൾ ഒരു പേഷ്യൻ്റ് നമ്മൾ വെന്റിലേറ്ററിലാക്കി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ദാറ്റ്സ് എ പാർട്ട് ഓഫ് മാനേജ്മെൻറ്റ്. ലൈക്ക് വി ആർ സപ്പോർട്ടിങ് എൻ ഓർഗൻ just to get through patient through his illness and will make him recover.
Doctor, what are the signs that we must look for to immediately hospitalize a COVID positive patient?
Okay. I think by now most of the public are basically aware of all signs of COVID. Okay. Basic thing before this question, what you should say is when to get tested. That's the most important thing. If you have any symptoms, say a fever, cough, any breathing difficulty, you should immediately get tested because rather to know whether you have infection or not, it's also important to stop spreading out this infection. After getting tested, now if you're tested positive, most of the people who doesn't have much symptoms, much severe symptoms and who don't have much comorbidities, for category A and B, what our government advises now is home isolation basically. So during this home isolation, we have been advising patients to strictly monitor their oxygen saturation. Oxygen saturation is monitored using a finger pulse oximeter basically. It's just a simple device you can put upon your finger and a small screen on which you can see your oxygen saturation. So this oxygen saturation level, if it is above 93, it's acceptable. If it goes below 92, then it's an alarming sign because during this COVID second wave, what you've seen is most of the patients who present to hospitals, at that stage, they'll be clinically asymptomatic. Rather, patient will be absolutely fine on a single prima facie look. But when we are monitoring hemodynamics of that patient may have very low oxygen saturation, say less than 70. This specific condition is called as happy hypoxia, where patient seems to be very happy, but hypoxia means he will have a persistent low level of oxygen concentration in his body. So early detection of this scenario is very important in this COVID pandemic, because patients who present very late to hospitals, most of them they reach into our ICUs, and we've seen most of these patients they get sick day by day. So, an early detection is very important to start an early treatment to prevent any further complications.
What are the first aid measures that could be taken by the common public in these situations?
Initially, from the start of COVID pandemic, like say from 2020 March, from those times there are few things which our government has been trying to implicate as public health measures, like say to wear proper mask, to follow proper hand sanitization, to follow social distancing. These are few things which everyone should follow. And if you look back, like previously when we had MERS infection, when we had SARS infection, this kind of public health intervention measures had helped a lot to control all these kind of infections. So we've been following the same measures in this COVID pandemic also.
Doctor, what are the current available treatments for COVID-19?
When a patient of COVID presents in hospital, initially what we see is patient's basic hemodynamics, his oxygen saturation levels and all. Then there are few medical interventions, pharmacological interventions which we do. What we use is, it's an viral infection basically. So we use antiviral drugs, we use IV steroids, then we use some anticoagulation drugs and all. These are basically there's a protocol management for COVID as per guidelines by government. We have been following those things, and the main primary aim is to maintain oxygen saturation for these patients. So for that, what we do is, there are various oxygen delivery methods. ഒരു പേഷ്യൻ്റെ സാച്ചുറേഷൻ കുറഞ്ഞു വന്നാൽ നമുക്ക് പല രീതികളിലൂടെ പേഷ്യൻറ്റിന് ഓക്സിജൻ കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റും. അത് ചെറിയൊരു മാസ്കിലൂടെ കൊടുക്കാം, അല്ലാന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ പേഷ്യൻ്റ് വളരെ മോശമായിട്ട് ഓക്സിജൻ സാച്ചുറേഷൻ നിൽക്കുന്നില്ല എന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ വെന്റിലേറ്റർ പോലെയുള്ള ഇൻവേസീവ് മെത്തേഡ്സ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യും. ഇതാണ് ബേസിക് ഒരു പ്രൈമറി മാനേജ്മെൻറ്റ് ഗൈഡ് ലൈൻസ് ഉള്ളത്.
Doctor, how does COVID-19 reduce a person's immunity?
When a person gets infected by COVID-19, what you mean is when this virus enters our body, basically this virus, it's an antigen. Antigen is the particle which causes an infection. What our body does is, body tries to produce some antibodies. Now antibody is something which is a part of our immunity, which helps to fight against this infection. So during initial 5 days, this viremia occurs. Viremia is the process where this virus tries to multiply itself. During that time, it's a war occurring in our body between this antigen and antibody. That's our immunity response towards this antigen. Now after this phase, when this, as I said, when this fight intensifies, there occurs something called as cytokine release syndrome. Now that is the phase where most of the patient becomes sick, and that's the phase when most of the patients present into hospitals. So during this time, there are different modalities of treatment where we have to which has to be administered initially during this viremic phase. Recently, monoclonal antibodies has been introduced in India, which has to be administered during this early phase of infection. Then if patient in later phase, when oxygen saturation or the oxygen levels of the patient drops down, then we have to treat the patient accordingly. Patient may need ventilator in latent phases.
Sir, what is post-COVID syndrome, and does every people who survive COVID have it?
Post-COVID syndrome is a range of symptoms or illness which can even persist after a patient becomes COVID negative. Okay, so recently in our practice, what you're seeing is patients who have recovered from COVID, at many times they return back to hospitals. It may be due to severe pneumonia which may persist even after COVID. Patients may have severe cough afterwards. In few cases, even we have seen patients presenting back with stroke and all. So basically, COVID is a multi-system illness which may affect any of your organs, which may have its effect even after a patient becomes COVID negative. That's what we say recently is, being COVID negative is just, it's not a criteria where you can just think you're free of all symptoms and all. The illness may persist even after the patient becomes COVID negative.
How do you deal with COVID patients admitted in ICU?
Primarily, we deal with category C patients in ICU. Now, treating a COVID patient in ICU, along with that, we have to deal with their bystanders also. Like, they'll be very anxious regarding the patient. They'll have a lot of questions. They'll have a lot of inquiries. And recently, everyone is well aware of all medical terminology. They'll be googling around. They'll be asking us more questions than our knowledge also most of the times. So dealing with that emotional part is also really difficult. Now we've seen many patients who succumb to the illness even after we aggressively treat the patients. We give whatever measures we have, be it medically or getting patients into treating with ventilator. In spite of treating with all modern amenities, all medical care, sometimes people succumb to this illness. So dealing with that emotional part is also very difficult in this COVID times. And the scenario is really different. If a patient passes away, most of the bystanders, they even can't see dead body. They can't have the last look for the patient. So it's difficult to deal all with these things. But we see a lot of happy faces also when patients go by. Routinely, what we do in our ICU is we've been doing video calls when the patients are admitted in ICU to their bystanders. So even after leaving ICU, we used to get frequent video calls from many patients who had been recovered from the illness.
Should we expect a third wave of COVID? If so, what are the precautions that we need to take, and how is it set to affect the children?
The most most effective and cost-effective method to prevent spread of COVID-19 is vaccination. It's as simple as that. That's why our government has taken efforts to initiate mass vaccination in our community. Regarding third wave, what we've seen in second wave is most of the people who are getting extremely sick are those below young patients, so say below 45 years. As now government is administering vaccine for all those above 18 years. If a third wave occurs, that may affect people below 18 years. So that's why in few countries they are anticipating third wave now. Anyway, we have to be well prepared for another wave also. Say it in terms of vaccination, or arranging more ICU beds, deploying more doctors, nurses, more healthcare workers. We have to be well prepared for any kind of infection. So in that case, if third wave, if it occurs also, we'll be able to prevent it well.
Sir, we have been hearing about black fungus. Can you elaborate on what it really is?
Black fungus, it's not a new infection basically. ഇതൊരു ഫംഗൽ ഇൻഫെക്ഷനാണ്. എത്ര കാലങ്ങളായിട്ട് നമുക്ക് ചുറ്റുമുള്ളൊരു ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ തന്നെയാണ്. ഇതിപ്പോൾ ഈ കോവിഡ് സിറ്റുവേഷനിൽ ഇതിൻ്റെ ഒരു പ്രിവാലൻസ് കൂടി ഇപ്പോൾ, കാരണം കുറച്ചൊരു ബേസിക്കലി ഈ അസുഖം വന്നുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നത് ഓൾറെഡി ഇമ്മ്യൂണോ കോംപ്രമൈസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ആൾക്കാർക്കോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ HIV പോലുള്ള അസുഖങ്ങളുള്ള ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ലോങ് ടേം ആയിട്ട് ഇമ്മ്യൂണോ സപ്രസൻസ് മരുന്ന് കഴിക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാർക്കൊക്കെയാണ്. നമ്മൾ വീട്ടിൽ നോർമലി ബ്രെഡൊക്കെ വെക്കുമ്പം അതിൽ ഫംഗസ് വരില്ലേ? ഇറ്റ് ക്യാൻ ബി വൈറ്റ് ഓർ ബ്ലാക്ക്. ആ സാധനമാണ് ബേസിക്കലി ബ്ലാക്ക് ഫംഗസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ഇതിൻ്റെ പ്രിവാലൻസ് ഈ കോവിഡ് സിറ്റുവേഷനിൽ കൂടാൻ കാരണം എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ആൾക്കാർ ഓൾറെഡി ഇമ്മ്യൂണോ കോംപ്രമൈസ്ഡ് ആണ്. ബേസിക്കലി കോവിഡ്, വാട്ട് ഹാപ്പൻസ് ഇൻ കോവിഡ് ഇറ്റ്സ് ബേസിക്കലി എ ഫൈറ്റ് ബിറ്റ്വീൻ യുവർ ഇമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ആൻഡ് ദിസ് വൈറസ്. സോ ഈ ഇമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ഈസ് വീക്കൻഡ് ആഫ്റ്റർ ദാറ്റ്. അപ്പോൾ ആ സിറ്റുവേഷനിൽ ഒരു ഫംഗൽ ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ വരാനുള്ള പ്രോബബിലിറ്റി കൂടും. ഇപ്പം നോർമലി ഇപ്പം എന്നെയോ നിങ്ങളെപ്പോലുള്ള ഒരാൾക്ക് ഫംഗൽ ഇൻഫെക്ഷൻ അങ്ങനെ സാധാരണ വരുന്നതല്ല. ഒരു ഇമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി സ്റ്റേറ്റസ് കുറയുമ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷനിൽ വരുന്നതാണത്. Primarily, black fungus, it affects sinus. Sinus are small air cavities in your face. Then it may affect brain also. നമ്മൾ ഫംഗസിനെതിരായിട്ട് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ആൻറ്റിഫംഗൽ മരുന്നുകളുണ്ട്. If it affects extensively, then we have to do debridement, where we surgically debride this fungal materials off.
Thank you so much for this valuable time and this informative session. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you for inviting me over. I think this is the second year now, almost all of you have been home attending online classes. So I hope we all will overcome this scenario very soon. Stay home, stay safe.